So I think just learning a few tools to make it more seamless, looking over the code first and then testing at each step, and then calling the function back in the original function and testing again.
Technical coaching. What's that like in practice? Could a technical coach help you to get better at refactoring and even pass a coding interview and land your dream job? A little while ago, Lauren contacted me because she was in that situation. She had a big job interview coming up and she knew that they were going to be asking her about her refactoring skills. Here's a short intro to Lauren. This video shows some of the coaching session that I did with Lauren. You'll see me advising her about what to focus on when reading code, how to use her editor more effectively, and to do refactoring safely. Hi, I'm Emily Bache. I'm a software developer and technical coach. In my channel, you can find content for developers and technical coaches. And if you like what you see here, please do hit like and subscribe. I've also got a Patreon where you can get access to exclusive subscriber benefits. Check that out. Now, I've done a lot of technical coaching over the years, but not very much of it one-on-one like this. I tend to coach teams. So I was curious if I could help Lauren. And she was also kind enough to let me record the session so I could also share it with my viewers and help you to better understand refactoring and what technical coaching is actually like. We decided to work on the tennis code kata in JavaScript, since Lauren had already been looking at that, specifically tennis game 1. And if you've never seen the tennis kata before, you might want to take a look at it as well before you see this. I've also got another YouTube video about this kata, and I'll put a link in the show notes. Anyway, the first thing I asked Lauren to do was to check that her coding environment and her tests were set up properly. The idea is that I want to make sure that she's going to get the right kind of feedback while she's refactoring.
Where am I code? Tennis.js. You can see my code editor.
I see the code. Yeah. Great. So let's just do that again where you run the tests.
Okay. Okay. npm test. All good. Everything passed.
And then you break something and they fail?
Break something. Let's change this to exclamation mark. And we'll run it again. And one fell. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Right. So let's. So now we know we've got a working setup. Okay. So now I refactor away, and we'll see how this goes.
Okay, great. So I see. I'm just going to take a minute to read it. And so use strict tells me it's going to be evaluated very strictly. But I see a function getScore, and this is a pretty long function. It's just one function.
I think Lauren's a little bit nervous. The first thing she's reading is that it's using strict, and that's, but I think she gets a little bit calmer when she realizes, oh, actually, we've got a long function here. That's something she knows what to do about. But then she starts reading just from the start of the function and gets caught up in loads of details. And this is a typical thing beginners do when they read code. They start from the top and try and understand everything as they go. But actually, she's seen the things she needs to know. We've got a long function. That's a code smell. So we're going to focus on that.
This is very long. So it needs to be broken down. Okay, else if.
Yeah, so that's really good. You spotted the first code smell, long method. And right. We're saying, so what do you do about a long method?
So with a long method, you have to isolate the different functionalities or something, or extract them into their own function.
Great.
And then you replace the original code with that function call. So basically, maybe I could go. This is the hard part. So this is equal. This is accounting for one condition where they're equal. So yep. Maybe I could make a function over here that's equal, right? Function equal, equal score or something, equal scores, with a score as the input. and then do like, and then basically extract this 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 what do we call it? Yeah, this code, these use cases, I guess. So can I just like cut and paste, I guess?
So Lauren starts trying to select the code for the new function body, and I had to stop her. Selecting code with a mouse is the most natural thing in the world, but in quite a lot of the cases, you want to select a coherent block of code. And your tool can help you with that. Lauren and I spent some minutes trying to actually persuade VS Code to do this, and I'm sure it can do it, but we didn't manage to find it. So I ended up showing her in my editor, Rider, the expand selection functionality. The effect I'm looking for is expand selection. So when I just do shift up, and it just gradually selects more and more until I've got the whole block selected.
That's nice.
So, and it means that instead of having to kind of drag with the mouse and I might grab an extra bracket or something, if I'm using the expand selection, I know it's always got a block of code that is kind of hangs together.
Oh, that's wonderful.
After that, we've actually moved on to doing the extract method refactoring. And Lauren didn't have a tool to do this for her, so we were looking at doing all the small steps of that refactoring by hand. Lauren set up a split screen so we could see both the original function and the new one side by side, and started reading the section of code we wanted to extract.
So if they're equal, if the scores are equal, but accounting for like the different ways they could be equal, they could be like both at 15, both at 30, both at 40. So this is saying that. So so we have a score that is as the input, as the argument or the parameter, and then I usually like to highlight it, copy, comment it out so I don't lose it in case I need to refer back to it, and then put it in here.
So that's the first move of extract method is just what you did, declare the function, and then copy the code and put it in there. But by commenting out the code in the original function, you've actually broken the functionality, and you didn't need to do that yet. So I would encourage you to put the code back, not remove the comments there.
Okay.
Because at this point, you can actually run the tests, and then it will tell you if your new function has a syntax error, for example.
Okay, great.
So the next thing is to make your new function basically not break anything by existing.
Oh, okay. That's great to know. Okay, I will run a test again. Oh, great.
So the function is not, disturbing anything at the moment. So now you can, but it's not being used either.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also perhaps not using the argument that it's got yet either.
Oh, yeah, because I need to also change this to align with the argument here. Yeah. So if I made a mistake in this intentionally, like I run it again, I would expect an error here, probably. Oh, it still passes, I guess, because
yeah. It's still passing because you're not using it yet.
Exactly, I'm not using it yet. Yeah.
So that's good. So that's the first step of an extract method, is to have a new function that's there and not being used, that doesn't break anything. Mm-hmm. Then you go and comment out the original code and call your new function.
Okay, I see. So I like the focus is on testing, really, at each step.
Yeah, keeping as your test running as much of the time as possible.
So now I would take out what I extracted and just delete.
Yeah. And
then call that function. So get equal score. But but that's the wrong input. It would so be get score, score one, score two.
So that would,
if m square equals m2,
if you
return
put back the code that you just clipped out, what is
m square 1.
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you. Get equals scores m score 1. Would I return that? Or is it enough to invoke it, I think? What do you think?
Oh, so that's interesting. Well, if you run the test now, I think they'll tell you whether you've done enough.
Oh.
Yeah. So no, that you need to do something with a return value, or you need a return value.
Right, return here. You need to return the result of that, the invocation of the function.
Try that.
Mm-hmm.
No, not quite.
Yeah.
So put it back so it works, because you tried a couple of things and it's still failing. So put it back. Lauren's got into a bit of difficulty here with the extract method. It didn't work the first time or the second time, so I advised her to back out the change, get back to green, then try again. And this is a really important refactoring move. You've got to realise when you've lost, and that going back to passing tests by reverting stuff is actually the quickest way to make progress. Undo is your friend. I'll skip over the next part. Lauren and I eventually worked out what was wrong and sorted out the return value of her new method. And the code was starting to look a little bit better.
This is harder like live. I feel like I'm so nervous. Well, just like talking and doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
but it's done really well, because now you've got a successful extract method and your long function is a little bit less long.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good start. So what's your next thought about what needs to be fixed in this code?
I'm seeing another block, and this is also like a conditional statement that reassigns the value of score given certain conditions, right? So I think we want to also extract this conditional into its new function. Another extract thing. So let me see, run this result. I guess I'll take a minute to like understand what this is doing.
Okay, so she's found the next refactoring target. It's another extract function that's needed. So Lauren is spending a few minutes now reading the code in this block, trying to work out what to call the new function.
You either like make it an advantage of one or one of them wins. So this is accounting for like that condition. So like you either get an advantage, like a player either gets an advantage or wins as a result of this function, as a result of this code. So I would extract that to another function here. Function get advantage or win with
the really good function name, yeah?
Mm-hmm. It starts with like a verb and it is descriptive of what the possibilities are. And so we want to put in again the score.
So
we want to do 2 scores, sorry.
Yeah. So before you do that though, so it can be helpful just to copy the code into the method body here before you start trying to worry about what the arguments are going to be. You know you're going to need some, but having the code here might make it more obvious which things are going to need to be passed in and which things are going to get returned.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great.
It's a very small thing, but copy it in there first.
Mm-hmm. I usually highlight the first bracket, and that's how I know the code block. So I can highlight everything within this, copy, paste it in, and
cool. And now you can work out what your arguments and your return value are.
Beautiful. That's really helpful.
At this point, we spend a few more minutes working out what the arguments and the return values of the new function should have.
Right. And then now that we have that, we can, is it excessive to just like test again, like after each change? It doesn't
cost you basically anything to run the test, so yeah.
Right. It's reassuring when it's not broken. So I would just take this out and call that function. get, advantage, or win, M score 1, M score 2. And then, I don't know, I need to reassign score to that again, or return it. I don't know why this is confusing me, because I'm thinking now if someone wins, then that's the game. The game is over.
Yeah. So actually both would work, but what it was doing before was assigning score. So that's what you should keep doing.
Okay. Yeah, because you want to, in refactoring, you want to have the same behavior.
Yeah, and in this case, actually, returning would have the same behavior, but you don't want it to make in a different project, it might not be the same. So it's good to keep doing what the code was doing before.
Great.
So run the tests.
Okay. Save on the test. Awesome. Works.
So I think at this point, Lauren is actually starting to appreciate the value of having those tests and running them often, which is another really key refactoring skill. And your long function's looking more manageable.
It is. Great. And now it looks like there's just one more, really.
Yeah.
So this is interesting because now for the first time I'm seeing like this I variable.
So after this point, Lauren starts reading the code again, trying to understand the next chunk that she wants to extract. And this piece is a little bit more complicated. And I actually stop her before she's read the whole thing because it's taking so long.
Okay, so this is accounting for score plus or equals minus.
So you're really your heroic efforts here to understand this code. This code is very bad. And actually, at this point, it's like, by refactoring this, you would understand it better than just reading it. And it's a technique called read by refactoring. You don't read code by just reading it. You read it by changing it in safe way.
I see.
So you just made a really good insight there. You had this insight that actually it's only going around the loop twice. I is either 1 or 2. So, ridiculous for loop. Yeah, so we went on to talk a little bit about this ridiculous for loop, and we got to the point where we wanted to extract the body of it to a new function. But I hadn't let Lauren finish reading the code, and she doesn't know what to name it. Yeah, so you can pull it out to a method first. That was your instinct. You want to pull it out to a method, and then it's a little bit easier to handle. But you were struggling to come up with a name for the method. I think that's why you were trying to read the code.
Right, exactly, because you're trying to figure out what it does to understand what the new function does.
So just call it something random. The name that people normally use is applesauce. So if you've got a piece of code, you don't know what it does, you just need a name, call it applesauce, and then everyone will know, yeah, right. It's some code that does something we don't understand. So yeah, applesauce. Lauren does a bit more refactoring here, following the steps we outlined earlier to get a successful call to the new method. And at this point, we perhaps understand enough to get a better name.
Get rid of applesauce as well.
Yeah, if you can think of a better name for it.
Translate score.
Translate score, that's better than applesauce?
Yeah.
Oh, right. So do you not have a rename method?
Oh, no, I don't have a rename method.
Okay. That's something you need to get, rename function. It's or at least do search and replace. Yeah, so I think rename is the most common refactoring that I do, and it's well worth having tool support for that. And I hope I managed to convince Lauren to get it. Anyway, at this point, we'd basically run out of time. And if I had a little more time, maybe I would pay more attention to this last method we just extracted, because it's got a bit too many arguments.
Right. We made progress, though. We extracted the functions that needed to be extracted, and now it's much cleaner and easier to read.
And that's the whole goal with refactoring. Easy to understand, cheaper to modify.
And easier to test, too, because right? They're easier to unit test when they're modularized functions.
Oh, right, yeah. So now we've got some smaller pieces. If you wanted, you could just write unit tests for those methods that you've extracted.
Right. Well, thank you.
Cool.
Very
Well, I think
helpful.
we might be done with the refactoring session for today. At the end of a coaching session, it's a good idea to just reiterate what you've learned as a kind of retrospective. Do you want to just summarize if you got any notes about what you're going to look up now or what you're going to try and remember?
Yes, absolutely. So I think in terms of just the visual code, just learning a few tools to make it more seamless, like git diff, unroll, renaming tool, editor track changes, and highlighting code blocks. So I think those will be integral to refactoring. And then also just the process of, not commenting at the code, copy pasting it, extracting it to a new function, not necessarily quickly identifying the arguments, but looking over the code first, and then testing at each step, and then calling the function back in the original function and testing again. Mm-hmm. That's a great list. And I really would like to wish you all the best with your interview that's coming up. Thank you. So I hope you enjoyed observing me coaching Lauren while she was refactoring. And if you like what you see here, please do click like. If you're also preparing for a live coding interview and you'd like to record some similar coaching, do get in touch. You could also join my Patreon. One of the benefits is access to my Discord server for technical coaches. I'd like to thank Lauren again for daring to show her coding skills like this. And I really hope she gets the job. Happy coding!